Next up, a brief report on the movement Scientist Rebellion. Our coverage is based on an article on revcom.us where you will find an insightful interview with a scientist who speaks about the significance of this movement. On April 6, over 1,000 scientists and others in more than 25 countries across the world engaged in coordinated acts of nonviolent civil disobedience, demanding rapid reduction in greenhouse gas emissions, which are fueling the climate crisis that threatens the very existence of humanity and much of the world's species and ecosystems. Organizers say this is the largest campaign of civil disobedience by scientists in history. In Madrid, Spain, they threw red paint on the walls and steps of the Parliament building to represent for all those who have died or will die as a result of the climate crisis. In Germany, scientists blocked a bridge near the German Parliament building, some literally gluing themselves to the pavement before getting arrested. And here in the US, several people chained themselves to the fence of Biden's White House. In the interview on our website, revcom.us, a scientist who took part in these actions talked about overcoming, quote, the idea that scientists should remain neutral in all things, end quote. She spoke of how she used to believe that, but has now come to see the need for scientists, quote, to be expressing what they know and how they're feeling about it. She said scientists have written report after report that detail, quote, the end of the world in the most boring way possible, end quote. She goes on to say it's solid science, end quote, but because it's written in this boring, neutral language, she commented that, quote, you can't tell that we're talking about the potential end to the habitability of major systems on our planet. It just doesn't come through, end quote. To remedy this, she said, quote, people need to see scientists in the streets freaking out so that they know this is real. We're not making it up, end quote. And NASA climate scientist Peter Kalmus was quoted in the press saying, quote, we've been trying to warn you guys for so many decades that we're heading towards a fucking catastrophe, and we've been being ignored. The scientists of the world are being ignored, and it's got to stop. We're not joking, we're not lying, and we're not exaggerating, end quote. The fact that climate scientists are making this call and taking this stand is an extremely important and heroic example. Those with a deeply scientific understanding of climate change are putting themselves on the line and sounding the alarm. Many more people in many professions need to follow their example and do the same. Our article this week on revcom.us made this important summation. We are in the midst of a climate emergency, and we are running out of time. While the world's governments and the capitalist system that they serve is moving precisely in the wrong direction, continuing to release profligate amounts of CO2 into the atmosphere with devastating impacts on humanity and the planet. Without hyperbole, we can say that billions of lives currently hang in the balance. This is fundamentally a problem of the capitalist imperialist system, and we need a revolution and a new society for any real and lasting solutions. While this is not what Scientist Rebellion is explicitly calling for, what they are doing is very important and potentially significant, a part of sounding the alarm to let the world know what is at stake.